Candace Owens is wrong. And I don't say that lightly because normally I actually respect a lot of the work she does. She asks hard questions, she digs into things, and I can appreciate that. I do the same thing in my world every day. But in this case, there are some serious inaccuracies in what she's saying about Charlie Kirk's death. The way she framed this video makes it sound like these are established facts, like this is the law and this is what happened, except it's not. There are some things here that need to be corrected legally, medically, and ethically. So let's talk about it. Let's walk through this clip by clip because when it comes to death investigation, there are actual protocols, and I live them every day. Let's start with the first claim.
Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit, and at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where.
If anyone online really knows where a bullet fragment was found, that information did not come from the Utah Medical Examiner's Office. They're legally barred from releasing those kinds of details while an open investigation is going on. So if information like that is floating around, it probably came from hospital chatter. And that's where HIPAA comes in. Even when someone dies, their medical privacy doesn't just vanish. Sharing diagnostic or trauma details without authorization is a serious violation. It happens sometimes. A staff member tells a friend, a nurse repeats what they heard, but it's not supposed to. Hospital gossip spreads faster than embalming fluid, and that's why investigators clamp down hard on confidentiality. So either somebody is speculating or somebody is talking out of turn. But one thing I can promise you, no state pathologist is phoning a political commentator to give them a blow-by-blow of wound trajectories. That's not how any of this works.
And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week. Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade, right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? Went in here where you saw that.
That's not trajectory. That's interpretive dance. That was some dancing. In a real autopsy, trajectory isn't guessed from the outside of the body. It's documented step by step inside of the exam room. Here's what that looks like. First, the medical examiner photographs the body exactly as received. Every angle, every wound, ruler in frame for scale. Then they document clothing and residue because things like soot, stippling, or tearing can tell you whether the shot was close range or distant. After that, they clean the body and they start a full external examination. Checking for exit wounds, tattoos, abrasions, all of it. Every measurement goes into the report in millimeters, not hand gestures. When it's time to determine trajectory, they open the body and trace the wound path internally. Sometimes they'll insert a metal rod or even thread through the channel to show its direction from entry to where it stopped. They might use fluoroscopy or CT imaging to confirm exactly where a bullet or a fragment rests. Only after they've done that do they describe the angle, like front to back, slightly downward, right to left. It's math and anatomy, not guesswork. And all of that goes into a confidential report that's dozens of pages long and reviewed by investigators. You don't get that information from pointing to your own neck on a podcast. So unless she's the one holding the scalpel and signing the report, what she's doing isn't trajectory analysis, it's storytelling. It's podcasting.
They did not recover a bullet from a .30-06. They didn't recover a bullet from a .30-06. Just didn't happen, okay? If they found a .30-06 bullet, Charlie's death certificate certainly would have reflected that. Medical examiners, feel free to chime in. I've spoken to quite a few. But when the gun and the bullet are known, they are reflected onto the death certificate, okay? There is not one reflected onto Charlie Kirk's death certificate.
This is one of the easiest ones to clear up because she's confusing two completely different documents. The autopsy report and the death certificate are not the same thing, not even close. They're handled by different offices on different timelines for completely different reasons. Here's how it actually works. When someone dies under suspicious or violent circumstances, gunshot, accident, overdose, anything like that, the body goes to the medical examiner or the coroner. That office performs the autopsy and eventually produces a full forensic report. That report can be 30, 40, sometimes over 100 pages long. It documents every incision, every internal injury, every organ weight, toxicology findings, histology signs, photographs, everything. It's a scientific and legal record, not something that gets uploaded to public databases. Inside that report is where you'd find references to bullet fragments, trajectory, caliber markings, firearm residue, and the examiner's professional interpretation. It's technical, it's detailed, and it's protected by law. Only law enforcement, the prosecutor, and sometimes next of kin, after the investigation closes, can request copies. So that was that one. The death certificate, I file those, on the other hand, is a civil document that gets filed through the Department of Health or Vital Records. It's meant for statistics, insurance, and estate purposes. It contains 4 essential things: the decedent's identifying information, the cause of death, for example, gunshot wound to the head, wound to the neck, the manner of death, homicide, accidental, natural, undetermined, and the certifying physician or medical examiner's signature. That's it. There's no place on a death certificate for bullet type or caliber. You're not going to see 30-06 Springfield rifle limited edition printed on line 27. It's not CSI, it's bureaucracy. Here's what's really going on. The death certificate hasn't even been finalized or filed at all. In Utah, and honestly in most states, that document waits on the autopsy findings, the lab work, and the toxicology results. Until those are complete, the medical examiner files a pending certificate. Nothing is official yet. So when people start saying it couldn't have been a 30-06 because that's not listed on the death certificate, they're mixing up the timeline. The certificate can't reflect information that doesn't exist yet. It isn't magic, it's paperwork. And for anyone implying that somehow they've already seen the examiner's report, let's be clear. Those reports are sealed until the investigation closes. Only the investigating agency and the examiner's office have them. Everyone else is speculating. Unless you were in that morgue documenting the evidence, you haven't seen the report. You haven't seen anything.
That particular weapon that they were trying to tell us Charlie was killed with would have gone through about 7 necks.
7 necks? I handle necks every day. That's not how anatomy or physics works. Bullets slow down in tissue. They don't magically keep cruising through body after body. Maybe in an action movie, but not in a morgue. That line was for drama, not data. I think that one of her sources is hospital staff or somebody related to somebody that worked at that hospital. So I want to talk about hospital staff and common procedure when someone dies there, especially during something like this. When someone is brought into a hospital with a gunshot wound, the trauma team's only goal is to keep the patient alive. If a surgeon happens to remove a projectile or a fragment, it gets handed off to law enforcement or the medical examiner's evidence tech person, assistant, if you will. That's it. Doctors don't sit there inspecting grooves or matching ballistics. They're not in the business of examining bullets. They're in the business of saving lives. Once that fragment leaves the hospital, it becomes evidence. The medical examiner will photograph it, label it, seal it, and send it to the state crime lab for analysis. Their role isn't to play detective. It's to collect and document data. The measurements, the direction, the travel, the type of tissue damage, that evidence then goes into a confidential report and chain of custody logs. So even if a fragment existed, and we have zero confirmation that it does, those details wouldn't be public. Whoever she's talking to wouldn't know that. And they definitely wouldn't be talking to reporters, commentators, not even to most hospital staff. They'd be protected under investigative confidentiality, which means claiming it wasn't a 30-06 bullet is pure speculation. There's no way to know without the lab report, and that's something only the examiner and investigators would ever see. Until those results are released, and that won't happen until the case is closed, any talk about calibers is just filling in the blanks with imagination. We don't have a report. We don't have a chain of custody note. We don't have a public statement. So we don't have facts. Everything else is just noise. I really do respect her curiosity and the work that she puts into asking questions. That part really matters to me and the general public. And we have not had a whole bunch of transparency from the medical examiner's office or anything really for the investigation into the death of Charlie Kirk. I don't know who her medical examiner friends are that she's been talking to, but I think she needs better ones, because the fact that they didn't clarify to her what a death report investigation, that's separate from the death certificate, it kind of told me all I needed to know. But when it comes to death investigations, the facts have to come first. There's a whole process, there's privacy for the family, and there's a reason that these reports take time. I'm Lauren the Mortician. I deal in facts, not fantasy or feelings. Thank you for watching, Coffin Crew. Don't hate me, Candace. This was constructive feedback. If you need a death diva to help you a little bit better, you know where I live, probably. Okay, don't come for me. Bye.